Adrian Newey just dropped a bombshell. And what he revealed about Aston Martin's new Formula One car should not be legal. Because this car, the AMR26, was built in just 4 months. The wind tunnel wasn't ready. The data didn't match. And yet, they launched it anyway. But here's where it gets insane. The suspension design? No one can explain it. The floor geometry? Completely different from anything else on the grid. And now, the FIA is already watching. Some engineers are calling this car a moving loophole. Others are calling it a time bomb. But Newey just said one sentence that changes everything. And if you miss it, you'll miss the truth about what's really coming in Bahrain. On the surface, it looked like a masterclass. Sleek graphics, perfect lighting, a launch stage set against the futuristic skyline of Saudi Arabia. Aston Martin made it look effortless. The AMR26 rolled out under the spotlight. Aggressive, sharp, lean. Just what fans wanted to see. But behind the cameras, the truth was very different. Because this car was rushed. Badly. Adrian Newey joined the project late. The wind tunnel? Not finished until April. Simulation data? Incomplete. The gearbox? Brand new. The power unit? A Honda hybrid Newey had never worked with before. And the car? Thrown together just in time to get it on a plane. No shakedown. No margin for error. No guarantees it would even turn on. And Newey said it himself. We started from behind. The design process was compressed. Let that sink in. The greatest F1 designer of all time. Admitting they barely got the car built in time. This was not a normal development cycle. It was a race against the calendar. And the result? Is a machine that looks beautiful from the outside, but might be hiding some very real problems underneath. Problems that could explain what happened next. Barcelona. Private testing. No fans. No media circus. Just engineers. Stopwatches. And silence. The AMR26 rolled out late. Day 2 of testing, while other teams had already logged hundreds of laps. Lance Stroll was the first behind the wheel. 5 laps in. The car shut down. Electrical failure. Not a driver error. Not a setup problem. The system just stopped. The car had to be wheeled back into the garage. No power. No answers. No way to gather data. That wasn't just lost time. That was a warning. This car isn't reliable. At least, not yet. And if that wasn't enough? The next day, Fernando Alonso took over. He ran longer, 61 laps. But the pace? Nowhere. The AMR26 was over 4 seconds off Ferrari's time. Even accounting for fuel loads, tire compounds, and sandbagging. That kind of gap isn't just performance. It's confusion. Because what Aston Martin expected in simulation wasn't what they saw on track. The data didn't match. The feedback didn't make sense. And the car? It didn't behave like they thought it would. Stroll said it felt limited. Alonso didn't say much at all. And Newey? He called it informative. Which, if you speak Formula One fluently, means something's wrong. Because when a car shuts down under its own systems, when lap times are off by seconds, and when the top minds in the sport are left with more questions than answers, it usually means there's a flaw in the foundation. Or, there's something inside the car they're not telling us yet. Something doesn't add up. The car shuts down. The lap times are nowhere. The data doesn't match simulation. And yet, the way it's built, is too clever to be a mistake. The AMR26 doesn't just look different. It moves differently. Every time it enters a corner, the balance changes. Not just front to rear, but across the platform. The aero behavior shifts in ways that confuse even experienced engineers. Why? The answer might be in the suspension. Because under the 2026 rules, active aerodynamics are allowed. Front wings, rear wings, movable elements. But the suspension? That's supposed to be passive, fixed, mechanical. And yet, rival teams watching the footage are saying the same thing. The way the AMR26 rides over bumps, the way it compresses under braking, the way it launches out of corners. It's not normal. Some believe the suspension is doing more than just supporting the car. It's managing airflow. It's changing the car's aerodynamic shape without any electronic input. If that's true, Newey may have built a mechanical aero system, one that mimics active suspension, without actually breaking the letter of the rules. Only the spirit. And in Formula One? That matters. Because now, the FIA is paying attention. Other teams are whispering. And suddenly, this car isn't just slow. It's suspicious. And here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. Newey has done this before. Barge boards, blown diffusers, flexi wings. Every era, he's found a way to bend the rules without snapping them. And the AMR26 might be his most dangerous interpretation yet. The FIA hasn't made an official statement. But that doesn't mean they're ignoring the AMR26. Far from it. According to sources in the paddock, the car is already under technical review. Not a protest. Not a formal complaint. Just a quiet investigation. And that silence is louder than any penalty. Because this is how it always starts. First, the whispers. Then, the data requests. Then, the visits to the garage. And finally, a technical directive. A quiet little message sent to all the teams, changing how the rules are interpreted. Overnight. It's happened before. Red Bull's flexi floor. Mercedes DAS. Ferrari's engine mapping. All legal. Until they weren't. And now, Aston Martin could be next. Because what Newey's built isn't just fast. It's provocative. If that suspension really is simulating active aero, if that floor is generating downforce in ways no one else thought possible, then every other team is left with two options. Copy it. Or kill it. And with time running out before Bahrain, most of them won't have time to copy anything. Which means, they'll choose the other option. Pressure the FIA. Demand clarity. Force a rule change before Aston Martin gets any real advantage on track. And if that happens, the entire design philosophy of the AMR26 could collapse. Because this car wasn't built to be modified. It was built to be pushed to the edge. And if the edge moves, so does the whole project. For Fernando Alonso, this is personal. He didn't come back to be a mentor. He didn't come back to collect a paycheck. He came back for one thing: a final shot at the title. And Aston Martin promised him everything. Resources. Freedom. Adrian Newey, the greatest designer in the history of Formula One. This was supposed to be the moment. A clean sheet of paper. A new car. New regulations. Everything lined up for one last, legendary run. But now, he's watching it slip through his fingers. Again. Because Alonso doesn't care about concepts. He doesn't care about long-term development. He doesn't care about potential. He cares about Bahrain. He cares about turn 1. He cares about points now. And what he's been given is a prototype. Unreliable. Unproven. Unpredictable. The kind of car that looks brilliant on a whiteboard and terrifying at full speed. Alonso's test laps were careful. Controlled. No late braking. No full pushes. Not because he's lost confidence in himself, but because he's not sure what this car will do when he pushes it. And that is not what a world champion wants to feel. Especially when he knows this could be his last shot. If the AMR26 delivers, he becomes the man who returned at 40 and conquered again. But if it fails, he becomes the man who bet everything on a car that never worked.